This is the FlipNerd.com Expert Real Estate Investing Show, the show for real estate investors, whether you're a veteran or brand new. I'm your host, Mike Hambright, and each week I bring you a new expert guest that will share their knowledge and lessons with you. If you're excited about real estate investing, believe in personal responsibility, and taking control of your life and financial destiny, you're in the right place. This is episode number 316, and Ben Rao, founder of Community Buying Group, is my guest today. Ben has grown his material buying co-op for real estate investors from himself in the garage of one of his rental properties to 19 employees with thousands of investors using his service. In today's show, we talk about how to network and leverage our resources to build our businesses. Most of us have a vision that we just can't do on our own. So many of you listening may be solopreneurs or have a small team, but today we're going to discuss how to scale your business through building a solid company culture where people love to help you achieve your vision, where members of your team can become almost members of your family to make your business and your office a fun place to work. So even if you're a one-man band or a one-woman band, you're going to love today's show. Most of us get into this business not to be essentially just self-employed slaves to our own selves as employers. We truly want to build something special and something that gives us a lot of the freedoms that we didn't have from wherever we came from. So Ben also shares with us today for members of FlipNerd to get access to a community buying group membership for free. It's normally $99 a year, but you immediately save money on every purchase from Lowe's and Sherwin-Williams and almost 20 other vendors that you're likely already using if you're a real estate investor. So we'll talk about that in the show as well. But please help me welcome Ben Rao to the show. Ben, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, thanks, Mike. Happy to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you here. So I'm excited to talk about these things today because we talk. You and I are actually in the Collective Genius Mastermind together, right. And of course we talk a lot about their. A lot of people would probably be surprised that it's a real estate investing mastermind, but we talk a lot about building businesses as entrepreneurs, right? I mean, none of us got into this to have a job or be a slave to a job. And so, but we just don't talk about that stuff enough. So I'm excited to talk about, how you built your business today and how we can learn as small businesses, how we can learn from, some of your experiences as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been in real estate investment for more than 10 years. I have rental properties, I've flipped properties, and it seems that throughout my life, businesses have built on each other. I was in technology before I really focused on real estate. Yeah. And now I have a business with Community Buying Group that's both technology and real estate. It's just from the experiences I've had before. Yeah. I think what you find out is, there's some members of our group or other people I've had on the show before. What I've come to realize is that even though we primarily focus on real estate investors or people that are doing things, I've had people on that are consultants or they're in kind of variants of the real estate investing space, but we all have the same issues like managing people, how to have some sort of balance or in our life so that we're not just killing ourselves by, another job. But we all small businesses, I think, have, many of the same fundamental issues. Yeah, they do. And I mean, we're all entrepreneurs. I mean, that's really what we are, right? And there's a lot of great things about that, and there's a lot of challenges.
For sure.
When I started Community Buying Group in the garage of one of my rental properties, it was myself and a part-time employee, and you really have to think through when you're doing a startup. I mean, one of them is bootstrapping it, but then you're just doing everything you can just to get business in, and you're working as hard as you can work.
Yeah.
And what you eventually figure out is that there's only so many hours in the week and there's only so much work that you can do. And there's a window that you're up against that you can't work any harder. And so you have to start looking to do what can you do different to get leverage.
Right.
I mean, I talk about leverage a lot of different parts of my business and talk to people within our company about thinking that way.
Yeah. And it's critical for small businesses too. I know we'll talk about this a little bit now, is that, before we get started, why don't you take a minute and just tell us a little bit more about you? We kind of skipped the intro part there, but just tell us, who is this unshaven guy on the other side of the camera here?
I'm just not that interesting of a person, so we probably don't spend much time on.
Join the club.
No, I live in Lee Summit, Missouri, which is outside of Kansas City. I've been investing in single family rentals for the last 10 years. I have rental properties. I still flip properties from time to time. And what I saw was a lot of fragmentation in the real estate investment market from small to medium businesses, of which a lot of them don't have processes and don't have structure.
Right.
They're just trying to get it done through hard work and hustle. And I wanted to build something that was a community of people that were in the same industry, that we could come together, share information, and then leverage each other as small businesses to get better pricing on materials, the same kind of pricing that big companies were getting and that the little companies couldn't get. And that's kind of how Community Buying Group was born 6 years ago.
Yeah, that's great. And it's funny because, as a coach and a mentor to real estate investors, I talk a lot to them about how to, when we find contractors or other people to work with, I say, hey, tell them you're part of this group. Like, we're always trying to find ways to make ourselves bigger or have leverage, because that's a hard thing to do as a small business, and especially as a small real estate investor.
Well, you talk about groups, and there's things like, the typical RIA groups, but you got to kind of expand your mind out beyond that. That's kind of if you're not involved in some kind of RIA group or networking or mastermind group, you're totally missing the boat. One, to have some support mechanism for the same problems that, we're all having to share. And with people, there's lots of different ways to do it. You talk about, networking and being out at events, and you're collecting all these cards and shaking hands and meeting all these people. But then are you coming back? Are you going out and connecting on every single one of them through social media, whether that's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn? Are you putting relevant information back in front of them so that your brand stays more top of mind? And that's the kind of thing that I'll tell you does it really good. Corey Boatwright, man, he's constantly blowing up with articles, and he's not asking for anything. He's just like, hey, did you see this crazy thing or this app, or did you see this article? And it's like, hey, keeps it top of mind. And here we are, you and I talking about him.
Yep. Yeah. It's funny. I was just writing something about Corey for one of our upcoming blogs about some other podcasters. So awesome. Well, hey, one thing I want to mention before we get too far into this, and I'll kind of mention it at the end of the show too, is maybe you could tell us a little bit about Community Buying Group for those that don't know about it.
Sure.
But I do want to tell people that I know normally you charge $99 for somebody to join to kind of get access to your co-op, to get massive discounts from Lowe's and Sherwin-Williams and a whole bunch of other brands. And you've offered listeners of Flipner to get access totally for free. And so it's like $99 a year. $99 a year, right? Is that what it is?
That's right. And guaranteed, if you're buying materials, you're going to save way beyond that. Our average member saves about $1,600 a year.
Wow.
At CBG. And that's through our programs with Lowe's, with Sherwin-Williams on paint. The paint prices are almost 40% off.
Wow.
You sign up to be a CBG member, and we'll get you a little key fob you can put on your keys, and they can scan it at the store. That'll be your account. So everything we're doing all has to be, it's your account. It's not some barcode that everybody in the United States is using. We're setting people up with their own accounts so then they can get access to all of our pricing. We've got an amazing insurance product that is specific to non-owner occupied properties. So if you're flipping or you've got rentals, that's all they do.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of other things on there. Office
That's
supplies.
Awesome.
There's we have 20 plus suppliers, but those are the big ones. Tool rentals, all kinds of different stuff.
Awesome. Yeah. So if you're listening right now, make sure you write this down. It's just go to flipnerd.com/CBG for Community Buying Group, flipnerd.com/CBG, and you'll get, you can enroll in like a minute or two, and it's totally free through the software that Ben's shared. So thank you, Ben.
It takes less than 2 minutes to register. So go take advantage of that for sure.
That's awesome. Great. Well, so let's talk a little bit about, of kind of how you've evolved with leveraging and networking your relationship and stuff like that, because I know a lot of us feel, there's people that everybody knows how important this is, and some people actually do something about it, and some of them just know it's important but never get to it. But what are maybe some helpful tips you could share with people that are listening about kind of how to build out your network as a small business owner?
Sure. So, I look at leverage in a couple different ways. I look at it in people, I look at it in technology, and I look at it in kind of process and systems.
Yeah.
So the people part of it's kind of what we talked about earlier. If you're out networking, going to an event, I'll give you another great idea. You go to an event and they have a booklet of everybody that was there in a program. Are you getting out and connecting to everybody in that book? Hey, you want to leverage yourself better to do that with technology? Go get a VA, give them your login credentials for your social media, have them go make all the connections to all those people, and then change your login credentials after they finish doing that. So, you talk about trying to just build out your network and sphere of influence and connecting with people. That's kind of like a double punch there as far as using, some technology or using a VA. Or VA is a virtual assistant for those of you that don't know.
Yep.
And I think about, referrals are something that sounds so simple, but are you asking everybody hey, who do you know that who do you know that whatever your product, whatever you're looking for to make connections, who do you know that's a great contractor that you use to do some kind of a service? These are all people that if you're meeting face to face, whether it's a RIA group, mastermind, we talk about collective genius. We all share, our systems and processes about how we do things. It helps us all elevate as a group of business people, to better all of us. So you can't be stingy about just always asking. You also have to kind of share things that you do too.
Yeah, and there's a couple things that you've said there that I want to kind of elaborate on, because in some instances, well, I've actually given some presentations on this similar topic before. When you go to a RIA club, and some people, forgive me if you heard this before, but you go to a RIA club or you go to an expo or you go to an event, and I used to have a stack here, but you get a big stack of business cards, put a rubber band around it and throw it into a drawer, right? And you're like, well, I checked I'm a networker. Like, I network with people. It's like,
that's right.
You and I both know, like, hey,
that's the easy part.
I know. How are you going to stand out? You've got to like kind of build those relationships from there. And so, I any kind of tips on that? I've got a few tips that I've shared before, but tips on how to like make yourself stand out. Because you go to a club like that, everybody leaves with a pocket full of business cards, and then nobody knows anybody, right? So it's time for a quick announcement. We'll be back to the show in less than 30 seconds. PassiveRental.com is your source for turnkey, done-for-you rental properties. If you'd like to be an investor and not a landlord, please visit PassiveRental.com to learn how to purchase cash-flowing, professionally managed rental properties in the hottest rental markets across the country. We can also help connect you with financing for your next property. Invest the easy way today and get started by visiting PassiveRental.com. Everybody leaves with a pocket full of business cards, and then nobody knows anybody, right? So
take your business cards, and if you don't have a whole lot, you've got time, make those connections on your own. An email follow-up, man, goes miles. Ask that person a question. Everybody that's an entrepreneur wants to help.
Yeah.
It's something that we all want to do. Hey, do you know the best idea to go do this? And they're going to probably respond to you. Connecting on social media. Take the cards, scan them. There's 5 or 6 different apps that you can scan business cards, and it'll do the OCR and put them back into like an Excel CSV spreadsheet.
Yep.
And if you're using any kind of technology, which you should be, some kind of CRM, whether that's Salesforce or Podio or something, being able to import that stuff in and then creating some workflows, even Infusionsoft for, email marketing, to be able to touch those people in either a more automated way, because you're too busy to say, oh, I'm going to touch them once a month with just a thought of the day. That kind of stuff can go through social media. It can go, there's a lot of different ways to do that. But I agree with you. You see most people collect the cards. They contact 2 or 3 people, and the rest of the cards sit in the drawer, rubber banded. And I have a whole drawer of those. Like, I wish they were $100 bills and stacks, but they've already been scanned. They've already been put in Salesforce. And so we create things like campaigns to know, hey, where do we meet those people? So it's easy to keep track.
Yep. Yeah. I think that is an important thing, is to when you meet somebody, and you don't have to do this for every single person you meet, because sometimes you meet somebody and hey, this is an influential person, or I could maybe do something with this person. You don't need to like so what I'm getting at is to kind of make a note of how you might be able to help that person, how they might be able to help you, something noteworthy about them. Because when you go to a big event and you walk out of there, you forget all that. So if you just kind of say, hey, this person works here and he's working on this, I told him I could connect him with somebody, or whatever it is. And I do think, I think you're right. If you find a way to give to people, like a lot of people go to networking events or they go to expos or things like that, and they're in kind of get mode. Like, what can I get?
Sure,
right?
Sure.
People that are walking around with the bag, filling it with all the pens and styrofoam cups and whatever. All
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah. We have a booth at one of these events, and a lady comes through and scrapes the whole table of all of our pins into our bag.
Yeah.
And we're in shock.
She was there to get.
We're in shock.
She was there to get.
And it was one of the people at our booth said, "What are you doing?" She said, "I'm getting some pins."
Yeah.
So you can have one.
Right.
She dumped it back out on our booth. It was beyond.
Yeah. But the people that go talk to somebody and think about, well, is there anything I can help you with? Like, what can I do? Because that's kind of one of the best entry, because most people don't do that. So first off, you're memorable because you stand out. And secondly, that's kind of how you get back, like give first, and then maybe they can help you as well. And they're much more likely to help you if you start with that kind of giving mentality, right?
Yeah, they are. And there's also something else that you see a lot of people, they fall down the execution when they're going to go to any kind of a networking event. I don't care if it's a chamber breakfast. I don't care. Go there with something in mind, not just showing up. Hey, you're going to look for something, look for somebody. You're looking for, hey, do you know anybody who can do this? Can you connect me to this? Do you know a banker? Do you know somebody that might be interested in funding something if you're trying to raise money?
Right.
Those are the things you're going to, that's why you're there. You're there to network and expand out your sphere of influence. I was going to make one other point about leverage. And, one of the business models with Community Buying Group is that we have hundreds of like RIA groups, software companies, folks like yourself, Flip Nerd, technology companies, and that they become Community Buying Group affiliates. And so we had the ability to tap into the relationships that they have. So if we have 300 or 400 affiliates, that may represent 70, 80, 100,000 people that you immediately get the leverage of the relationship these other people have. Well, that works in a personal relationship or in anything else too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, this is a perfect example of it. We just said people can sign up for free instead of, if you go to your site, it's $99. You and I are friends, and you said leverage my network, and we're leveraging the fact that you have a team.
Not to mention he spent thousands of dollars to give it to you.
Yeah, and you have a team of people, right, that you've leveraged as an employer, and they're leveraging you in ways too, right, to go build relationships with Lowe's and Sherwin-Williams and lots of other people.
Yeah, so it's gone from me being by myself with a couple of part-time people and a border collie who's Charlie Dog, who you'll see on our website and is in the office every day, to now we have 19 employees, which is like it's a totally different deal to be managing that many people. And some of the things we've been able to do is you learn, one, to hire good people that have expertise to help you to do the things that you don't know how to do. Delegating and getting stuff off of my plate to get it to somebody else, even if they can only do it 75 or 80% to the point of what maybe that I can do, you're getting leverage using other people. And then we've started to build, a lot of the people in Collective Genius, we're all using Traction. The Traction, and we've had that implemented for 10 months.
Yeah.
So we're highly committed to that. And the weekly meetings and the cadence of what we're supposed to do, and that we're getting leverage out of that because it's creating accountability. It's creating a system to make sure we don't lose track of things. And when you talk about process and systems, those are just different leverage points that people kind of overlook.
Right.
Whether you've got automation through your CRM or Infusionsoft. What's that book by the guy that started Infusionsoft, the Invisible Selling Machine? That's one that if you haven't read or you look at how to really focus and leverage technology, that's a really easy read. There's lots of books like that out there, but the process and the systems piece is an area to me that gets overlooked so much because most people that are entrepreneurs don't necessarily like that part of it. They like to build the business. They like to generate it. They like to start it.
Right. Yeah, but you can never get out of that mode. You can never go. I know we were just talking about some different trips that you went on, or you were on this summer, and I traveled 3 or 4 different times this summer with my family, and it's like I can't just walk away from my business forever, but I have systems in place or processes in place and people in place that allow me to get away for a little while. And if there's ever a problem, I can get pulled in, but at least I can leave my business periodically.
You're not handcuffed to it. Yeah, right. That's really important. I mean, I've got 2 kids that are teenagers, been married for 20 years, and one of my biggest things and my why and why I work and why I've built businesses to be an entrepreneur and owner myself is so that I have more flexibility in my schedule. And it's so odd to hear other companies that are owners and they started a business and they're like, I can't get away, I'm handcuffed. Yeah. And that's usually because they haven't created either technology, they don't have the right people, or they don't have processes in place.
Right. Well, I actually have a question for you. The Flip Nerd question of the week, Ben. It's perfect. The perfect for what we were just talking about is because I know a lot of real estate investors, a lot of small businesses suffer with this, and this will be different for everybody. But if you had it to do over again when you in your garage and you were going to hire your second person that was not your dog, by the way, who would your first hire be? Or when you a lot of small entrepreneurs too, who do you typically advise is like, hey, you're going from 1 to 2 people. This should be the first person you hire.
Wow, that's not as easy a question that I thought you were going to give me. I thought you were going to loft this big softball up for me to hit it out of the park.
Well,
that's
yeah,
tough because I tend to lean more towards business development. So, how are we going to hire more? How are we going to hire somebody that's going to help me get more people in the door, bring more affiliates in the community buying group to build it out, so then you can bootstrap it and have enough cash flow to then go be hiring other things. But the one thing that I probably did wrong in the first year or so is I didn't take enough time to plan or build processes. I just did it, hard work, nose to the grindstone, and just banged it out. Rolled up the sleeves and banged it out. And it's like, okay, if I'd maybe stop for a second, and I've been so excited about building and creating and step back to say, what are the processes here? I would have gotten the leverage that maybe I took a few steps back in the first part of the business, but then it grows faster once you kind of get past the point of when those processes kick in.
Yeah. Yeah, in my experience, we're going through some changes here as well, and it's like we've really kind of made a concerted effort on the stuff that I've known how to do forever, of just sitting down and documenting, like right down to the last thing of what exactly do you do.
And did you find that like to be so painful? It killed you?
It is, because you start to think things. I found myself jumping from like step 2 to step like 8. And it's like, well, there's a whole bunch of little things in here. In my mind, I'm like, well, they're not like noteworthy, but they will be for somebody that's never done it before, right?
That's right. That's right.
And so I think once you kind of get that down, it's like, hey, maybe you can check off 2, 3, and 4 in like 5 seconds, but at least it's part of the process that needs to be kind of documented. So
that's what gives you the scale. It's that process that if you can hand a process to somebody else that doesn't know anything about it and they can follow it step by step, then it's scalable at that point.
Yeah. Because I found myself too often, I know you have too, of somebody asks you, they need something done, and you're like, man, I'm going to have to do it because it'll take me longer to tell you how to do it than to do it. But until you document that, right, then you're gonna be the person that always has to do it.
It's not documented. I mean, I know Robert Nichols that has he's got his big VA business focused in real estate investors. I mean, one of the things they force you to do if you're going to use them is kind of documenting what the process is, because they need to have somebody else to follow it that doesn't know what you want them to do.
Right.
Painful, but once you get past it and put that investment in, then you're flying.
Yeah. Well, for those that are listening, we're going to go into the second part of the show in just a second here. Thanks for joining us up to this point in the show. The second half of our show is restricted to only FlipNerd Pro and Elite members, and only accessible on FlipNerd.com. If you're not a Pro or Elite member yet, you can upgrade your account in about 1 minute by visiting flipnerd.com/upgrade. Depending on membership level, you'll get access to off-market properties real time, including real-time email and text alerts for new properties listed in your market. You'll get access to hundreds of full-length expert interviews, and Elite members get access to the FlipNerd Lab, which includes detailed masterclass trainings, 2 live webinars a month where you can interact with the leaders in the industry, and access to our Elite Mastermind group, where you can interact with hundreds of the top real estate investors in America. Build relationships with those that are actually operating successful real estate investing businesses. By visiting flipnerd.com/upgrade, you'll learn much more about our membership options. And once you've upgraded your membership, come on back and listen to the rest of this show. Wish you could watch or listen to more flipnerd.com shows? You can. As a premium member, you can get access to the full length of hundreds of past shows at flipnerd.com/shows. Or hear us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or Google Play. While you're there, please subscribe so you don't miss another episode. And if you like what you hear, we'd really love a positive review. It's the ultimate high five for us. Show us some love by subscribing and giving us a great review today.